Thank you, Jeff. Jeff's been my best friend in Utica. my champion whenever I visit different cities. Oftentimes I don't really know anyone, so I'm kind of I used to stay in my van and sleep in my van next to a park, and I go to the park bathroom and give myself a little sponge bath and then go to a gathering at a church or a yoga studio. That's how I started. And then I thought, you know what, I need to ask for help here. I want to find a place to stay, to live. And so I came into town, and Jeff offered to house me. When I came into town, I was so delighted. You know, it makes my journey a lot more comfortable when I have friends to stay with. So we became friends, and as well as Kathy as well. And Winston, actually. Winston's still talking. Yeah, no, Winston. So, and it's interesting being a wandering monk because you go from house to house to house. I have so many families across the United States. So many, the whole United States. I even went to Mexico this year. And it was really fun doing gatherings in Mexico. I didn't have to speak Spanish, fortunately, because no hablo mucho español. So, what do they call it when you cross the border and then you start from the U.S. and then you live in Mexico? You call it a...
Expatriate.
Yes, thank you. Expatriate. So there was an expatriate community in Mexico where I held gatherings, and one lady just took an interest and became my champion there, just like Jeff. I mean, Jeff has gone out of his way to make it possible for me to be here and be comfortable and actually share spiritual teachings. And, you know, I treasure that. Yeah, that means a lot, because it's not so easy to come, you know, on your own and know someone. At the beginning of my journey 13 years ago, when I first renounced everything, I felt lonely and I had some depression. It was hard. And bit by bit, as I started connecting with the spiritual energy and the presence, it just started to wash away my depression and loneliness. And now I'm so happy wherever I go, like naturally happy. I don't need so much outside world to make me happy. There's a kind of living presence within. It's similar to the candle, you know, like lighting the candle. When you light the candle of the soul, then joy becomes natural. It's like an outpouring of joy and love and peace wherever you go. And even if the world is kind of falling apart, you're still okay. You know, you still feel very content. In Sanskrit, the word for contentment is santosha. You ever heard that word? Santosha. It's a great word. Probably if you ask AI would know more than me.
Or maybe not.
So contentment, like you're okay with whatever circumstance you're given, even if there's a world war or something, you're just happy to be here and happy to help however you can. So you're not shut down if there's bad news on TV. You're simply praying for people, you know? And prayer is mystical. You talk about the mystical path, what does that mean? Prayer is intention. So if I think about someone, I visualize them, and I send them an energy, let's say, like as an example, peace. Do you know the Sanskrit word for peace? Someone knows. Shanti. Shanti. So you think of that person, even right now, think of a person who's kind of in stress right now, or who's suffering. You visualize them, and then you speak the word to them, Shanti, 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 and kind of visualizing them surrounded in this peaceful light. That works. Shanti is a power word. You know, it's an ancient. Did anyone ever see the movie or read the book Lord of the Rings?
Right.
Remember Gandalf was a wizard, and he would cast spells and use words, power words. That's what mantra is. It's an ancient power word. When you say the word Shanti, Shanti, it invokes the spiritual presence of peace itself. And then when you send it to someone, they will be touched by that energy. It's just, that's the magic of it. That's the mystical. Mystical means magical. You don't understand what it is. Mystical equals mystery. No one can understand it. And yet somehow, it's real. So, I am all about woo-woo. Like invisible power. I feel like there's so much more than this three-dimensional world that we're experiencing right now. Way more than the thoughts in our mind and the emotions in our heart. There's so much more possibility of opening to the powers of the universe. Did you know that even in the mind, like I guess with our brain, we only maybe use like 95% of it? You heard that statistic?
I heard 10%.
Sorry. We use 5% and the other 95% is dormant. That's what I meant. Although there may be some people here who are using 95% of their brain. The Unitarian and Universalists are pretty smart. They probably use a lot extra. But so I thought, well, how can I open to new possibilities and awaken my latent powers, if you want to say it that way? If you want to do that, spirituality is the path for you. It's for you. I feel like I'm a salesman for spirituality. You don't have car salesmen. We have to have spiritual salesmen. Here, come follow me. I'll give you nothing. Because in spirituality, the point is to let go of all your opinions and thoughts and judgments. And then the divine power arises inside you. So it's actually unlearning everything that you know. As I was joking the other day, there are so many smart people who know a lot about spirituality, but how many are living in spirit? How many has we were talking about the Holy Spirit in that last song, the Spirit, I call it the Holy Spirit. How many people are living in the Holy Spirit, are surrendered to that kind of invisible energy and power? Do you know another name for the Holy Spirit? It's the divine feminine principle of the universe. The dove. In Christianity, you've seen the dove, right? That's the female principle. She is the energy of the entire universe. And if all we have is just some control over just our body and that's it, seems so tiny. Why don't we want more than that? When you tune in to the energy of the Holy Spirit, you activate that energy. You have to be very careful because what you think of will be immediate manifestation. Some yogis, they just think of an apple and it appears in their hand. They don't have to go out and grow apples. They just use, the minute they think of something, it's manifested. That's the power of the Holy Spirit. You're in alignment with the energy of the entire universe. And therefore, your thought, what you think, is a great responsibility. You have to be very careful, and that's why most masters, we lit a candle for Swami Purna, who is a great master, they don't think at all. Could you imagine? Most of us have 10,000 thoughts a day? Did you ever count your thoughts? No one's counted? At least 10,000. Yeah.
Maybe 20,000.
Maybe 20,000, right? And so if you have 20,000 thoughts and each thought is a manifestation, right? Then how does God or the universe know what you want? You got 20,000 thoughts. Which one are we going to pick? Right? So, but if your mind is silent, totally at peace, totally quiet, and then you think one thought, pineapple. It just came to my mind, I'm not sure why. And then it's there. It manifests in a second. That's the power of a quiet mind. You're in tune with something higher. And therefore miracles happen. Why do you think Jesus was able to perform so many miracles? His mind was in tune with the infinite Holy Spirit, the energy of the entire universe. Whatever he intended happened. Miracles. That is the mystical path. Jesus then was a mystic. The first guru of the Western world, if you want to say it that way. The great mystic. That's why mysterious things happened around him. So, if you want to attune to this spiritual principle of the Holy Spirit, endless power, then connect to the original Jesus Christ. Someone was talking to me about the Course in Miracles. Is anyone who here has attended a Course in Miracles class here? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, yeah, so far. If you haven't, I recommend trying it, just for fun. And that book, The Course in Miracles, was channeled by a woman and supposedly came from Jesus. Well, a Course in Miracles group had me come and talk to them about, their class. And so I sat down with them and they started, analyzing the Course in Miracles group. It's very, very kind of hard to understand, actually, even for me to understand the Course in Miracles. It's very deep. Ultimately pointing to the non-dual state of there is only God, right? And so I sat and listened, and then they turned to me and said, Brian, do you have any suggestions for us? And you know what I said? Remember the suggestion? Why not get a picture of Jesus, put it in the middle of your table, your discussion table, and light a candle for him? That was my only suggestion. After all the deep discussions of the philosophy of life and spirituality, the most profound thought. And that was my only suggestion. They looked at me with kind of their mouth dropped. What does he think? I thought he was going to give some sort of profound teaching to us. It can't be that simple. It can't be too simple. But it was. Because you know how you connect to this great mysterious power? You honor your guru. So if Jesus is your guru, you give him flowers. You give him a candle. You give him some chocolate. I mean, everyone gets chocolate on Easter. If you're lucky. For me, I prefer, the one sweetened by stevia because it doesn't have any sugar in it. I'm kind of overly healthy in that way. But give him some chocolate. And that's an honoring of your guru. When you do that, you honor the teachings that he's given. And then guess what happens? We were just talking about this. He comes to the group and blesses you. People say, oh, when your body dies, that's it. That's not true. Haven't you ever gone to a medium and talked to your relatives? Who has done that? Who's talked to their relatives through a medium? 1, 2, 3. So right? And it's fun. You realize, oh, they're just waiting for you to hang out with them. They're alive. Therefore, Jesus is alive. So anytime you invoke that and honor that being, they come to you. And if it's a mystical being, even better. Their energy will bless the gathering. So if you wanted to, kind of create the presence of Jesus in the room, or Yeshua, at least that his real name actually technically is Yeshua. That's what they actually called him back then. Then get a picture of him, light a candle, and speak his name, which is Yeshua. Saying the words, Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. And you can feel the shift in the room. The energy totally changes. You can feel like it's like a loving, compassionate presence that awakens in the room. It becomes alive. That's mystical. You didn't have to read anything. You didn't even have to learn about it, read the Bible or anything. You just want to be in that mystical presence that he represents. And when you hang out with the Master, what happens to you? You become like the Master. He, she rubs off on you. You become that which you meditate on. I'm going to repeat that again because it's so crucial. You become what you meditate on. What you think about all day is what you become. So if you're thinking about Christ all day, whether it's pick a screensaver or it's a mantra, his name, or a book about him, you are attuning to him. You're striving to become like him. And my theory around, even when we talk about the Christian tradition, is that really everyone in the Christian tradition just wants to become like him, wants to experience the same love that he experienced, wants to feel the same peace, the same joy, the same quiet mind. They want to become like him. So it's simple. Be aware of your thoughts all day and try to create a spiritual atmosphere that's reminding you of your idea of the divine. So you go into your house, the first thing you see is a representation of God. Like I'm looking up there and you can see the symbols of all the different paths. Maybe in this case it was a cross. You have the cross that reminds you at the very beginning. Concentrate on that power so I can become like that. That's the mystical path. So then the great master has the disciples, passes down those mystical teachings, which are all energetic, by the way. You could read a lot of books, but I'm talking about actually embodying the teachings. The disciples imbibe the mystical presence, and then they pass it on to those who they share to. And then the whole lineage goes on and on and on, and that's how you keep the spiritual teachings alive. This is the mystical path. So my teacher, we lit the candle for Swami Purna, has kind of passed on, kind of lit the candle within me, and then I simply share the spiritual teachings with you and pass it on, and then hopefully you imbibe the energy, and then you go home and pass it to Winston or whoever your pet is. Probably your dog and cat will be the most open to spiritual teachings in the family. Probably. They don't have as many issues. They're just like, I love you. So they're very, very open. So this is kind of my general explanation. I could talk to you a lot more about it, but I feel like it would be important more to attend a meditation where we did more of an immersion like we did last night. Some people came to that gathering That way you can kind of get a deeper feeling of what mysticism really is, beyond just an explanation. So I wanted to thank you for having me, and namaste.